Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
What you got going on there? Is that some tea? You got some tea leaves on your tongue there?
It's coffee, homie.
Some little bits. Oh, you got some grinds.
No, it was mid sip, and I decided to stop the sip. However, I still had a little bit of coffee on my tongue, and I was like, I can't talk with just this small amount of coffee on my tongue, and so I had to do something about it, and that's what it was.
And welcome back to Going In Raw Matt Chat. It's our monthly time to sit down with our friendos and watch their video questions or their text questions, and then answer these said questions right here on the show to the best of our ability. If you want your video question answered, get in those Patreon pledges. You have until May 31st. May has 31st.
Yeah, there's 31 days in May. Yeah,
it's got May 31st. June has 30 days.
That's right.
For the backlash edition of Matt Chat, make sure you get your May pledge in, and make sure your card is not expired or anything. We get that money, and then you can send your video question to us. Anyways, let's hop right into this, man.
Sure, let's do so.
What's our first question of de jour?
It's from Jacksonville.
Number one, Guillaume Halili.
Hey there, friendos. Jacksonville's number one here. Back with this month's Matt Chat question. Simple question. What are other just feel-good, heartwarming moments and stories in real life that has happened to wrestlers? You know, I'm talking about like Becky announcing she's having a baby, Daniel Bryan being able to compete once again. Just list a few of them. We need some just heartwarming stuff right now. Let's think about them good stuff. And yeah, everyone stay safe, stay strong. We'll all get through this. Later, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Guillaume. So I guess I'll go first. I really like your answer, but I'll go with one that. So he mentioned, of course, already Daniel Bryan, but of course there was another prominent WWE sports entertainer who had to go away for really sad reasons, and then he came back and he said, "I'm in remission, y'all." And of course, I'm talking about Roman Reigns, who had a bout of leukemia come back into his life, and then he Superman punched it, speared. Superman punched it, speared, and a couple months later he was able to come back because he was in remission. So that's awesome. And now he's gone again thanks to having kids. So yeah, his return, man. Oh, I thought that was just terrific. It was really
that was really well done. It was really well done on camera, and it's great to see him, get through that bout of leukemia, as you put it, and return to doing something he loves.
Yes, correct.
Are you serious about your next answer here?
Oh, let's see.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, no, man. Okay, so here's the thing. For you and me, maybe not, but there were a lot of people in attendance who really, there were people crying over John Cena proposing to Nikki Bella at WrestleMania 33. We were there. It was a sham. You and I both knew it was a sham. It was a total sham. But that didn't stop a lot of people from buying into it.
we knew the proposal might happen. The odds of the wedding actually happening, not that great.
I actually thought, man, they would get a lot of money for that wedding because it was going to be on TV. I thought that regardless, they'd go through with it. But they would just fall apart after a couple of years. But they didn't even wait for that. They barely waited like a couple months, I think, before that thing fell apart. And Cena was videographed out and about with frolicking with members of the opposite sex. And so yeah, that fell apart. But hey, in the moment, at first it was totally a joke answer, and it kind of is. But in the moment, people were really into it, man. Not this people, but other people.
The answer I got here is Katsuyori Shibata returning at the G1 final in 2017. Of course, he had that fantastic match against Okada that was marred by the headbutt.
That's a hard match to watch, man.
Yeah, it was a really good match. It was an excellent match. It was so good. And then the headbutt happened. He started bleeding from the head. Little do we know at the time, he was bleeding out his brain.
Oh, God.
And, was in the hospital for the longest time. It seemed as if, a good portion of his motor function could be in jeopardy. He pushed past that. It seemed a certainty that his wrestling career was over. But this is the first time he came back, stepped foot in a wrestling ring after that happened. I think he just said, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
Took a bump and sat in the middle of the ring, and it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
and now he's the head coach at the LA dojo.
Yeah, it's awesome. We can go visit him.
We're in New Japan.
Let's go say hi.
We could. We can get some
No,
training.
actually, we can't. They're under until July now. LA County is under stay-at-home order.
Oh, okay. We can't become young lions yet.
No, not yet. Our dream has to be pushed back a little bit.
Darn it! All I want to do is eat a kick from Minoru Suzuki.
This damn pandemic is keeping us from realizing our dreams of being young boys.
I'm getting sick of it. Real sick of it. I'll tell you what.
Me too.
Something I'm not sick of is these awesome looking video questions with Joshua Martinez. Joshua could have a career in cinematography. All his questions look fantastic. It's like he's got a steady cam. He's got like a prime lens on his camera. They look phenomenal. Cinematographer, official Going in Raw cinematographer, Joshua Martinez has a question next. Let's see what he has to say.
Well, hold on a second. Is he using a subjective camera or an objective camera?
Objectives. It's not point of view or something like that.
Let's see what he has to say.
Hey, friendos. So with these special matches like the Money in the Bank corporate ladder match and the Boneyard match happening, I think we all agreed that these matches would be good to see once things get back to normal. So my question to you is, how should they handle this? Should they do kind of like a yearly pay-per-view where there's just a bunch of, those type of cinematic matches? Should they have something like a yearly match, kind of like the Money in the Bank used to be every year at WrestleMania? Or should they be how I think every stipulation match should be, is when a feud warrants that type of match, you have that type of match? Be interested in what you guys think. Thanks, friendos.
Thank you, official Going in Raw cinematographer Joshua Martinez. I just gave him a new title.
Good.
Good. So we kind of have similar answers. So the cinematic matches, by and large, have been a lot of fun. Boneyard match, fun.
Yeah.
Firefly Funhouse match, absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite wrestling experiences maybe ever. It was so darn good. Money in the Bank, a lot of fun. I hope these stick around, even though they're doing arena shows, because I think they finally found a way to do them. That's a decent combination of cheesy, but still, but not so cheesy that it's off-putting. There's a little bit of cheese, there's a little bit of cheese in the Money in the Bank match, but it didn't overwhelm the match as a whole. Same with the Boneyard match. Firefly Funhouse match was on a whole other stratosphere of just being awesome, the depth, all that. So I hope they stick around. Prior to the most current run, their track record of doing pre-film stuff not that great. So I hope they've taken what they've learned from these matches, apply it going forward for the foreseeable future and beyond. But they shouldn't do them too often. Do them when the story calls for it, and save them for the major event. Save them for Mania or the Rumble or even Money in the Bank, Survivor Series, something like that. Don't do them at like the B-level pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Even though it could help, get eyeballs on a pay-per-view other people might not otherwise watch. But just do it only when it calls for it, so they still feel special and important and not routine. And I think that's the thing. Don't make it feel routine.
Yeah, so they're going to do that eventually. So my suggestion would be sort of do it like Hell in a Cell started out, like only when it's, like you said, only when it's completely necessary. When you get into a story that it's like, man, this would really be enhanced by a cinematic experience. But then they'll probably just do, and I actually wouldn't be opposed to this, a yearly pay-per-view where they're all cinematic matches, as opposed to Hell in a Cell, which, that should be the one brutal match of the year.
But
letting the writers
story calls for it, not necessarily when just because a pay-per-view is called.
Right, exactly. But like in the case of cinematic matches, that's a different thing. If you want one pay-per-view where you allow your writers and producers to fulfill their cinematic dreams, then I think that'd be kind of fun. Actually, I think it'd be kind of cool. But I don't know if they'd ever do that. But yeah, I hope that they don't preclude this from doing this once arena shows are back. I think it's a lot of fun. It's just you got to find the right, the right characters. I hope that they understand now that you can have, perhaps if they're well done, if they're well executed, if a wrestler has an idea that's up there with in terms of creativity, like The Fiend, then you can use that as a pitching angle. To pitch to Vince or Heyman or whoever and say, hey, listen, I've got this idea for a character. which can work in a lot of different ways, including the cinematic match type thing. So hopefully it'll just open up, the floodgates for creativity with wrestling. The cinematic stuff, it really does feel like, there's nothing like being in a live show or watching the crowd, just eat a match alive, basically. But it really does feel like, in my opinion, the cinematic stuff has felt like a celebration of wrestling. And it's like, it's no substitute for the real thing, but it's a really wonderful tangent to the real thing.
Yeah. And it's a way to freshen up the visual language of the show, which is something that WWE has needed for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Next, got a question from Rich.
Steve and Larson, Rich the Smash Bro here with Chase in the back seat. With everything that happened on Raw last night with Becky's announcement, we gotta know.
That was insane.
Are they going to write Seth off TV? Is he going to go insane with this Messiah thing to where they're going to write him off for a while so he can go be a daddy?
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich. Sure.
I'm not really Nostradamus, so I don't know if they will write Seth off.
Was it a quatrain? Give me a quatrain on what they're going to do with Seth.
I don't know.
Is there a meter you have to use, like a Shakespeare thing?
I think so, probably.
So confusing.
So anyways, I think it's this, man. I think that Seth and Becky are adults. They're smart people. As long as they're not being pressured by the WWE to have Seth stick around while Becky goes off and prepares for the miracle of life. Seth has to be preparing as well. But as long as they're not forcing his hand, as long as they're smart enough to take the proper precautions to do what's necessary to ensure the health of the child and the health of Becky and Seth, then let them do whatever they want to do. If he wants to stick around, as long as he's being safe about it, who am I to say, no, don't do it?
Yeah.
So I just hope that, and I doubt they would. There's no evidence to suggest that WWE is forcing anybody to do anything. As long as they're not trying to strong arm him or guilt him or whatever, as long as he doesn't feel, oh, if I'm not here, this place is going to fall to pieces. Hopefully he doesn't put that pressure on himself. Just be smart about it and then take whatever course of action you feel is necessary.
I believe there was reports that both Becky and Seth were planning to take some time off after Mania, and I would assume this would be before they were even aware of the pregnancy.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a situation where Seth might stick around for a couple weeks to find a way to write him off. Maybe he's going to take things too far in terms of doling out violence like we saw in Raw, trying to gouge out Ray's eyes with ring steps.
Yeah.
That he'll eventually be suspended, write him off TV for a spell. You can be with Becky during her pregnancy, whenever, maybe it's a matter of waiting a few more months to seeing how the whole pandemic thing plays out, and then in 3 or 4 months it looks like it seems like the situation's safer. You can come back then. At the end of the day, as you said, they're adults. They can make these choices. You just got to hope that they're taking every precaution, protect themselves, protect Becky, protect the baby, and then so long as that's the case, then they're grown adults. They can do what they want. Yep. Next, Philly Flexer's got a question. Let's hear what Philly Flexer has to say.
Hey guys, your boy Philly Flexer, back with my match chat question this month, not this week. Anyways, my question to y'all is AJ Styles. He has been killing it to me. He's my favorite wrestler anyway. So anyways, I just want to know your opinion on where you think his story arc should go. We can tell or whatnot that Undertaker's all in this man's head or whatnot, and I think it's a really good thing or whatnot. Even Simon Miller's been calling him the immortal AJ Styles or whatnot because he's, I don't know, not really here anymore. But anyways, I just want to know what you guys think. What should AJ Styles' character arc be from here or whatnot? Thanks, guys. Too good, me brothers.
Thank you, Philly Flexer.
Thank you, Philly Flexer.
I like that AJ was wearing the purple trim tights on Raw. Just hopefully week by week, just a little more Undertaker's overcoming AJ Styles.
Yeah.
You got the PTSD stuff. He's obsessed with everything Undertaker. Everything seems to indicate they're going to have another match at some point.
Yeah.
Probably not a Boneyard thing. Part of me So if the whole point of this last ride thing is to chronicle the Undertaker as he prepares for his last match, Survivor Series this year would make all the sense in the world. 30th anniversary of his debut, and you could think of a list of a lot of potential opponents for Undertaker for his last match. By all indications, leading up to the Boneyard match, Taker won the match against AJ because he appreciated his work. He saw him as the modern-day Shawn Michaels, or this era's Shawn Michaels. Given his rivalry with Shawn Michaels, how he was the one to retire Shawn Michaels, maybe the Undertaker sees an opportunity here to have this generation's Shawn Michaels be the one to end his own career. If Undertaker's MO is, I want to leave having the best match I can, who better to put him in the ring opposite than AJ Styles?
Nobody better.
Who's one of the best wrestlers of the day. That being said, you got the story. AJ still suffered from PTSD. At first, he's paralyzed by it. He doesn't know how to act. And finally, he comes to the realization that if I'm going to get over this, I need essentially exposure therapy. I need to confront what's bothering me head on rather than running away from it. So he challenges Undertaker to a match, whether it be at SummerSlam, if they have another opponent in mind for Taker's last match Survivor Series, if that's when it's going to happen, or at Survivor Series, if they want AJ versus Taker to be it for The Undertaker. Have that match go down. AJ gets the W. He overcomes his own fears of The Undertaker and maybe by extension, death itself, and he can move on with the rest of his career. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I like that all. I think that everything you said, I agree with. I think that Survivor Series this year, it would not shock me at all if they're going to build that as the main event, and they can do any number of matches between now and then to set that up as maybe Hell in a Cell. Maybe
I'll put this out there. Survivor Series slated to take place in Dallas, Texas. Now I know The Undertaker, I think originally from the Houston area. He lives in Austin now. Still, it's his home state.
Texas is Texas. Yeah, it's all the same thing.
Well, I don't know about that, but
it's huge.
It's a massive state.
No, but he's a Texan. In that what shirt? Okay, what shirt is he wearing, Larson?
Well, it has the state of Texas on it.
It has the state of Texas on it. We don't really want to go to what shirt it is.
Or the hat, if he knows the hat.
I did notice that, yes. Yeah. So yeah, no, he's definitely a Texan, full on, and I think you're right about that. It definitely seems like the kind of thing that they can build to. They can do a thing at SummerSlam, and that can lead to a thing at Survivor Series as well. I mean, this should be a big enough story that you're telling it over the course of, what are we in, May to November? Absolutely.
Well, even going back to a month ago. So you got April to November.
April, yeah. So, yeah, you're totally, and AJ is absolutely the guy like Undertaker and Vince probably consider him akin to, the Shawn Michaels of our generation. And I could see, especially because it's something that's real. Vince likes putting AJ in important roles. That's why I'm pretty sure you chose him to be Mr. Money in the Bank. It made sense. He needs something big to do. And so
Vince can count on AJ.
Exactly. And I could think of nobody better. It makes all the sense in the world. This thing will go to Survivor Series. I think it's a great idea.
That'd be great. Next question from B-Man, all day, real superstar, Patrick Sparks. Took the time for being on the outs with Angel Garza to ask us a Matt Chat question. Take it away, B-Man.
Hey, friendos, Pat here. All right. Mania happened a little while ago. Made me think recently, especially seeing the Undertaker doc and whatnot. Who truly is Mr. WrestleMania? Some would say it's the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels for all of his acclaimed matches and whatnot. And then you got the Undertaker. The streak is iconic. Very defining for his career and basically everybody around it in the business. So, I guess that's the question. Who really is the true Mr. WrestleMania? Bye.
Thank you, B-Man.
Thank you, Patrick Sparks.
I believe it's your turn, Steve.
Okay. It's Hogan. I hate to say it, man, but it's true. It's Hogan. When you think of WrestleMania, you think of, there would be no WrestleMania without Hulk Hogan. That's true. That's totally true. The biggest WrestleMania moments are either Hogan Andre at 3 or Hogan Rock at 18 or, Hogan Sid at 8 or Hogan Yokozuna especially at 9. I'm sorry, but it's totally Hulk Hogan.
No way, man. It's The Undertaker. His streak at WrestleMania became synonymous with the event. Ever since they started really focusing on it over the last dozen or 15 or so years. He's 25-2 at WrestleMania, best record of anybody. He's got the most WrestleMania matches. Like his streak, more or less justified him like continuing his career. That's what he more or less said in the last ride. The streak at WrestleMania became so important that he could work once a year. Like barely anybody else has that degree of leverage and has that opportunity to basically, I know he's not taking the whole rest of the year off because he's got to rehab injuries and then train for the next match. But The Undertaker is such a singular figure in the mythology of WrestleMania. The streak alone, I feel like, and this is from like Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time. In terms of best all-around WrestleMania performances, it's hard to argue against Shawn Michaels being Mr. WrestleMania. That being said, The Undertaker's legacy at WrestleMania is basically unparalleled. Yeah, you can say Hogan. Without Hogan, there's no WrestleMania, and there's truth to that. But, past WrestleMania 9, which there's been a lot more WrestleManias after 9 than before, it's basic math. The Undertaker is the most important wrestler. He's like the one wrestler that spanned that entire time. It's The Undertaker. Undertaker is a real Mr. WrestleMania. Sorry, Shawn Michaels, you're still my favorite, but it's Undertaker.
Yeah. But we can both agree that it's not Shawn Michaels, though.
I mean, if you look at actual,
it really isn't. Here's the thing: didn't he dub himself Mr. WrestleMania prior? He did that before his break, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so.
I think he did. At that point, like how many over-the-top WrestleMania? He had the Iron Man match. That was great.
He was in 14 WrestleManias. Shawn Michaels was.
That's fine. That's totally fine. But
his record's 6-8.
Prior to okay, so his record is 6-8. Prior to his break, how many did he have? Would have been from 92?
I think 8 was his first one. And then 9, he had a match. And then 10, obviously. 11, 12. Wasn't at 13. He was at 14, so that's 6.
Okay, so when he dubbed himself Mr. WrestleMania...
Maybe he had a match at 7 if he was the Rockers had a match at one point.
Okay, but that's the thing. Like, the first couple of them were the Rockers. He did... Okay, so he had the ladder match. That was good. That was really good. He had... I'm talking about before his break when he dubbed himself Mr. WrestleMania.
Yeah.
He had the ladder match. He had the Iron Man match.
Yeah.
Those are the two those are two groundbreaking Mania matches.
Yeah.
But then he fought like Diesel in one of them.
Yeah, WrestleMania 11.
Yeah. So I don't know.
He fought Tito Santana at WrestleMania 8, I believe.
Okay. I didn't
believe it was
that.
Tito. And then it was No, it wasn't. Was it Mr. Perfect at WrestleMania 9?
Who did he wrestle at 9? Was it Perfect? Seems like it was Perfect. Now, if he had those Macho Man matches that Macho Man wanted to have, maybe he'd make a better case for himself. I think you're right. By the way, I think it is Taker. You just had it written down. No, actually, you didn't. I was trying to come up with something different. It was different.
It was Tatanka at WrestleMania 9.
Oh, God. Yeah, okay. No. I was just trying to come up with something that isn't Shawn Michaels or Undertaker. So I came up with Hogan, which I think actually has a better case than Shawn Michaels, to be honest with you. But it's totally Undertaker. The streak was everything. It was Undertaker.
Yeah, it's totally Undertaker. 100% Undertaker.
To me, it's Taker, Hogan, and then Shawn Michaels can have.
I know Triple H's record at WrestleMania is not great, but next to the Undertaker, he's been at more WrestleManias than anybody else.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think quantity is the thing.
I don't think it's the thing, but it's part of the recipe, man.
Who's got iconic WrestleMania moments?
The most?
Yeah, sure.
You can make the case as Undertaker.
Can you?
Yeah.
You can.
End of an era, losing the Brock, beating Sid after Sid crapped his pants,
Beating Sid is.
Well, he won the title at the main event of WrestleMania. That's a moment for anybody.
But I know that's such an underwhelming Mania, though.
As a whole, yeah. That's not Undertaker's fault, though.
Yeah, but beating Sid is really not. That is not an iconic WrestleMania moment.
Through the mid-aughts, he had like every year Undertaker was in a hell of a match against Flair, Edge, Orton, Batista. Like the early mid-aughts, he was on a run of having awesome matches, and then you have Triple H, HBK, Triple H all mixed up in there. That is a hell of a run, man.
Yeah, that's Taker.
that's a hell of a run.
Yeah, that's a. You're right. That is a hell of a run. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's Undertaker. Next, got a question from the Enforcer, Stevie Bradley. Take it away, Enforcer.
Hey, Stephen Larson and all the friendos. It's the Enforcer here with my monthly Matt Chat question. And I want to talk about the men's Money in the Bank winner. Oh, yeah. It's Otis. And basically, we know that Asuka is the champion because when the combination was open for the briefcase that Becky did, the championship was in there. So I'm wondering, Otis has got to be, oh yeah, what's in here? And then he's going to crack that open, but what's he going to find? Is he going to find anything? Is he actually just going to find a contract? Could it be a T-bone steak? And if he waits too long, how disgusting is that T-bone steak going to be? I think we got a mystery on our hands. Join us. Perhaps you can help solve a mystery.
Thank you, Enforcer.
Thank you, Enforcer.
I go first. There better be meat in that briefcase. It should be full of meat.
Mm-hmm.
Just meat and more meat. Cooked, uncooked. Doesn't matter. Tri-tip, brisket, a half rack of ribs. Whatever. There should be some meat in that briefcase, and he should have cracked that briefcase open, see the meat. If it's cooked, eat it. If it's raw, cook it, and then eat it.
That's
what it should be. Have a spiral cut ham in there. Whatever. There should be some meat in that briefcase.
I want an IOU from Tucky to be in there. Tucky steals the contract, and then he goes sells it for one of those barbecue egg things that Corbin has.
Oh, so that's gonna be the start of the feud.
Look what I got us, Tucky.
Is that Tucky wants to up his barbecue game, and it comes at the expense of Otis and his contract. Next, got a question from Christopher Rampersad. Take it away, Christopher.
Hello, Stephen Larson. So my question is, the debut of Scarlett Bordeaux and Killer Cross, do you feel like when they get to the main roster, will we see like a Sable and Mark Maron situation that maybe Scarlett Bordeaux will be more over than Killer Cross? Will we see something like that happen again in the modern era? What do you guys think?
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you, Christopher.
Go ahead, Steve.
No, I don't think we're going to get that situation at all. I think that Killer Cross is a big deal. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll retract that. I think that he is a much bigger deal than Mark Marrow ever was. But I will say this though. I don't think that there's going to be. I think when they hit the main roster, they're going to have to climb. I think there's maybe. I think there's one person in NXT right now, maybe two, that are going to have a much easier time on main roster and won't have to really climb the ladder to get to the upper mid card, sniffing the main event scene. Cause that's all you can ask these days for call ups is sniffing the main event scene.
Yeah.
Which is silly. It should be, if you build a star in NXT, they should be a star on main roster or at least give them a shot.
Exactly.
Aleister Black shouldn't have been on main roster for a year now, rack up as many wins, and he's never even sniffed the title. He's never even come close to sniffing it. So I think that Keith Lee and Adam Cole are the two names that when they hit main roster, they're going to be sniffing the title immediately. I believe that. Killer Cross is going to have to work his way up. I think they're really good. But I haven't seen enough. I haven't seen enough of his wrestling. And that might not matter. He might have enough in terms of charisma. Although we had a lot of people in our comments saying that his facial expressions are too hammy.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
And I felt it before. I've thought that before. I don't disagree with that. If they can successfully make him somebody who like legitimately you're like, whoa, like, and it has to be through the substance of his performance. It has to be that mixed with good creative. But they seem to be giving him the push. But you got to have that extra thing in the performance.
Totally.
If he can do that and really captivate people, I just don't know that he's going to be able to do. Having seen some of his previous work, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. But I hope he does.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a situation where Karrion Kross is kind of going to get lost in the shuffle of his own creative. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's got strong enough presence, strong enough charisma, and again, I'm not terribly familiar with his in-ring work, but hopefully strong enough in-ring work so he doesn't get kind of shoved aside or lost in the shuffle by a stretch of the imagination. As far as your comment about him having to work his way up on main whenever he gets called up, I think if he's getting called up in the next 6 months, yeah. If he's gonna be in NXT for 2 or 3 years, and they build him up, then he can be on the same level as Adam Cole. If the creative in NXT is good, if NXT does their job of making him a massive superstar within the context of NXT, then his brand, assuming that main roster in any way follows a lead that NXT set forth, in terms of very rarely does that ever happen.
Yeah.
Then he's got the presence, he's got the look to instantly be a main event guy. It just depends if the creative's there and if they've done a good enough job of building the Karrion Kross brand at NXT over the course of a couple of years.
Yeah.
But even we saw like Drew McIntyre, granted he was hurt in NXT. If there's ever a guy who leaves NXT ready to be put right in the main event scene, it's Drew. And he was a henchman for years.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know. We'll see. And my thing is this, dude. It took Drew years. Was it 2 years now, I guess?
A couple of years, yeah.
Drew has a lot more, in my humble opinion.
Oh, he's got a lot more like experience, basically everything across the board. He's
got a lot more of the natural it factor than Kross does.
Yeah. Drew's like prototypical pro wrestler. I know what commentary said for years. If you build a wrestler from the ground up, you'd want Randy Orton. Give me Drew. Drew's got it all.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Drew's got everything.
I agree.
Everything. Next, we got a question from Cult of False Realities. Take it away.
What's going on, Steve Larson and all the friendos out there? It is I, the Cult of False Reality, freshly shaved and got a new haircut, y'all. I did it myself. Hope it looks good. Anyway, my match chat question for this week is, after this pandemic is over, what should be some ongoing feuds in WWE and in AEW? I would like to see Cody and Darby Allin as an ongoing feud in AEW. And for a new feud, which I hope they do the draft thing, I kind of want to see Carmella and Liv Morgan. I feel like that'd be a good thing. That'd be a good feud. They can try to do something about the fact that Carmella says she's from New York, but she's really from Boston. Maybe they can play something into that. I don't know. But what do you guys think? Give me like 3 feuds for each brand. Too Sweet, Party Handshake, Stay Safe.
Thank you, Cult of False Realities.
Thank you, Cult of False Realities. This is what I got. Maybe tops amongst them, Young Bucks versus the Revival.
Ooh, great.
Please give this to us.
Yes.
Please.
We're probably going to get that. We're probably going to get that before the pandemic's over, huh?
I don't know.
Where have the Young Bucks been?
At home.
What was the reason? I forget. What was the reason for Paige?
I think both Paige and Nick have newborns.
That's right. Okay. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, please.
Speaking of Paige, give me Omega versus Paige. I want to see that match.
Oh, so good.
On the WWE front, Roman and Braun, revisit that.
Oh, yeah.
And then from there, you can do Roman versus Bray.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good one. I like all that. I would like to see, there's no reason you can't do that this sooner than later, I guess, but Asuka versus Bianca Belair. Mm-hmm. Spend some time building up Bianca Belair a little bit, please.
Yes,
Did
please.
You see she made the Street Profits basketball gear?
That's cool.
I know. She's very talented. I know these are cross-brand, but seemingly they don't care anymore. You could do this before the thing is done with the Street Profits and the New Day.
Yeah.
I want to see Big E and Angelo Dawkins mix it up verbally because I think it'd be hilarious. And then I want to get back to Finn Balor versus Walter. I was on the verge of watching NXT UK again, and then this stuff happened. And then I also want to see I want to see Keith Lee versus Adam Cole, but I want that to be in front of fans because I want Keith Lee to be able to celebrate his NXT title victory in front of people.
That's a good idea. Good. Next got a question from Spitfire Marcus Johnston. Take it away.
What's up, Steven Larson? Spitfire Marcus Johnson, waiting to go into work. Back with my second Matt Chat question. My question for this week is, say Vince McMahon comes out Monday night after Money in the Bank and says he is stripping everyone of all titles. The only thing that is still left standing is the Money in the Bank winners. Everything else from there, everyone has to grab the brass ring and pretty much earn the titles themselves. So, book, if we have all new, all fresh champions, how would you book who wins what and how they go after it? Thank you. Have a good week.
Thank you, Marcus. So let's just go back and forth. Let's start with Raw. If you had to start over, who would be the WWE champion?
Like the right person is the champion right now in Raw.
Yeah, it's Drew McIntyre.
It's Drew McIntyre.
100% Drew McIntyre. Raw Women's Champion again, Asuka.
Oh, it doesn't get better than Asuka.
U.S. Champion. Andrade has it now.
Yeah, so Andrade has it now, and I'm actually really happy with that because I love Andrade. I know you do too. Mm-hmm. They need to give him a feud. They need to give him. You can't. I understand your point the other day. How I'd like to see Andrade versus Drew a lot too.
Oh, it's great matches.
But man,
they need to do something more with Andrade. I agree.
They make those guys look like assholes.
Yeah, they kind of do look like chumps.
Mm-hmm.
They really do look like chumps. That being said, let's say Andrade can't be U.S. champion. Maybe he's going to start contending for the world title. Who else should be U.S. champion?
Of the people that we've seen, I really was hoping for Apollo Crews to get that title from him, that one match they had on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that could have maybe drawn some eyeballs to the product, and instead they had Apollo get injured. So,
yeah, I'm going to say Aleister Black.
That's a good one,
I think Aleister Black getting a title around his waist would be pretty awesome.
That'd be rad.
The tag champions right now held by the Street Profits.
I mean, it's hard to disagree with the Street Profits, but like this flipping thing they got with the War Raiders really should be awesome.
Good.
And they're just doing a bunch of comedy stuff.
It's not very good.
So,
I'll say have Cedric and Ricochet join up with this Lashley MVP faction. Put the tag titles on them.
That's terrific. That's really terrific.
Let's go over to SmackDown. Who should be the Universal Champion, Steve?
Oh, Bray, the Fiend. Totally.
I'm going to say Daniel Bryan.
Okay, that's good too.
The Intercontinental Champion, of course, now it is Sami Zayn.
I think it would have been cool if Daniel Bryan took it off of Sami Zayn at Mania, and then the next SmackDown said, "Hey, Drew, because of your coaching, I did this. I got this. I'm going to give you an opportunity." And that's the moment where Drew really does figure out Daniel Bryan, and he takes that IC title off.
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to backtrack on Universal title. It's not Daniel Bryan. It's Big E. Big E is my Universal Champion.
That's awesome.
The Intercontinental Champion, I'll have Daniel Bryan. SmackDown Women's Champion.
I don't see a reason it shouldn't be Bayley at this moment. I think that she's pretty good.
It would be interesting, given the story they've been telling with her and Sasha, if they stripped Bayley of her title and then it was given to Sasha or she won it.
Yeah.
How that would affect the dynamic between the two. So I'd put it on Sasha. And finally, tag champions. It's a New Day. Yes, it is.
Give me it's Forgotten Sons, of course. I'm joking.
Kind of Kind of just want to end the show right now.
It's the new day. Forget me not.
Forget me not.
Who's up next? Stephen M.
Stephen M is up next. Take it away, Stephen M.
Hey, Fernando, Stephen M here with my match chat question. So I was wondering, could you power rank top 5 wrestlers you don't care for in ring, but you like them on the mic, and vice versa? So you care for them in the ring, but don't care for them on the mic. And personally, I think Baron Corbin's an example for me. Like during the King of the Ring tournament, he's really he showed us his in-ring chops, and he's one of the most improved wrestlers there is. And when he can put on a decent match, but he has all the go-away heat in the world. So when he's on the mic, and this might be controversial, but I don't care for Nikki Cross's main roster wrestling style. It's probably because she hasn't been able to be shown how good of a wrestler she is, but I much prefer her character work and stuff to watching her in ring. Anyways, take care, guys. Keep keeping on during this lockdown. Thanks for providing so much entertainment. Too good, my brother.
Thank you, Stephen M.
Thank you, Stephen M. You have some interesting. The second one,
yeah, and it's not to say I can't think of any wrestlers really in WWE that it's a situation where I really like their in-ring work and don't like them at all on the mic, or vice versa. The two answers I have is just because Bray, I think, is so good in terms of telling stories, so good in terms of the creative aspect of talking, of doing promos, of working on the mic, that his in-ring work, some of it I really like, and some of it I'm underwhelmed by. So I understand that a lot of the stuff he's doing in the ring is the purpose of telling a larger story. So if you look at the match in a bubble, some of them, they're kind of like his match against Seth at that one Saudi show. It wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. But in terms of the story they were trying to tell about the Fiend at that particular time, it went far in terms of establishing the Fiend as this horror movie character. You look at the match in the bubble, it's kind of whatever. Same with the Hell in a Cell one. I didn't mind the ending. The match itself, whatever. In terms of the larger story, I can appreciate it. But that being said, if I had to choose somebody, I understand your answer too. I wouldn't disagree with that. But I just feel like Bray is so astronomically brilliant on the mic that even as a pretty good wrestler, I appreciate his mic work way more than his in-ring work. And let's say I think his in-ring work is bad. On the flip side of that, Ricochet, I think with good motivation and good material, Ricochet could be good on the mic. I just don't think he's given that very often. I've seen him do good promos. I've seen him do plenty of good promos. Just far too often, he's got nothing to work with. It's just generic babyface stuff. His in-ring work is off the charts, though.
Off the charts. Yeah, with Ricochet, I've seen him give believable promos. I've never seen him give promos that really move me, and it could be a matter of him not being given the material.
He did one in PWG that was really good, I thought.
Bray is interesting because with Bray, I kind of wonder if, look, what you said is totally true, and I think my interpretation of what you said is kind of his stories might be better told outside the wrestling ring entirely. Yeah. Which makes him so different. But also, given that we've seen his match, for example, with Daniel Bryan, was really good. And
really
even
good.
the meat of his match with Braun this time around.
It was good.
It's just I wonder if sometimes his stories get in the way of good matches. That could be it.
I think that could be the case. Yeah. No, I think he can, but everything he does is the service of the story. If that means the match isn't as exciting as some other matches on the card, so be it. But he's looking at a larger picture, and I understand that completely. Yeah. Some of his matches in the bubble,
by necessity of what he's doing, the wrestling is a lesser priority.
Seemingly, yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
Let's say I don't enjoy his work in the ring. I just enjoy his work on the mic way more.
So I'm going to say I agree with that. I'm going to say, just because he's a recent addition, and I don't care to see him wrestle at all, but god dang, I really enjoy his personality, MVP.
That segment with Lashley on Raw was so good.
That segment was good.
So good.
So far, a lot of what he did, even in the build to Money in the Bank with the little conference with the women and stuff, I thought that was good stuff. I really want to see more of that. I could care. I don't need to see him wrestle. I don't want to see him wrestle. He shouldn't be wrestling, really. And then Roderick Strong. So Roderick is good when he's goofing with the Undisputed Era, but just in a bubble, just him, I thought maybe some of his stuff, like with Velveteen Dream, was okay, but it's not really his strong suit. Is on the mic, but God, he's probably one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers. Like, just his matches come off as so legitimate. His selling is so like legitimate without being like too cartoony or too much. Like, that dude looks like he's getting beat up. Like, it's him, Daniel Bryan, and like, I don't know, nobody else really for me in terms of like matches that I really want to see. So those are my answers.
All right. We got a couple text questions. First from Chris Carlin. Who do you think will be the first AEW champion who isn't a former WWE talent? So it depends on how strictly we want to define former WWE talent. Does this include people who were never on WWE main roster, or do we extend this all the way to developmental?
I think that it's including people like Shawn Spears. I think it's including, like, if that's your litmus.
No, my example, like Kenny Omega was a WWE developmental.
No, that doesn't count. Just
Years
because
ago.
he was in Ohio.
Deep South. It's Deep South.
I always think it's OVW. Okay, Deep South, fine. Whatever. That doesn't count.
All right, if that's the case, then I might say Kenny. Kenny or Adam Page. Those are the two answers.
The one you wrote down is completely the truth. It's Adam Page. Page is going to take that title off Moxley. They're going to, once pandemic's over, once Page can do stuff again, they're going to build him back up.
Oh, hell yeah.
And he's going to be the guy. It's going to be like basically tweener versus tweener. I mean, I know Moxley's like a baby face, but, he's a baby face who does, it's going to be, people are going to be, they don't know. People are going to have to choose sides, man. They're going to have to choose sides. But I think Page is going to be so damn over. I think he's taking that title off Moxley. I think it's going to be a while, but I think he's the guy for sure. There's nobody else. Yes, Omega might be the other name, but I think Page, I think they have a mission right now to make Page the guy.
Yeah.
But they're doing a much better job at it than like WWE does in making their guy the guy.
Yeah.
I think it's 100% Page.
And finally, Luis Ariza, I want you guys to go back into the bowels of history and turn 3 matches into cinematic masterpieces.
Great.
He says you can't pick end of an era. That's too easy.
I love your second answer. That's great.
All right. Anyways, go ahead. You can go first.
Well, okay. So I sort of was trying to pick a match that had a lot of history to it, a lot of story, but like wasn't good at all. And in this first match that I'm choosing, it couldn't be good because the guy wasn't like, it's Vince versus Bret. That match, like, you need a stunt double for Bret Hart because he couldn't take bumps at the time because he had the insurance thing and he had the brain thing. He literally couldn't do anything. So for me, it'd be Vince versus Bret would be number 1.
All right. My first one would be Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, Mania 26. Shawn Michaels' last match. Spectacular storytelling. Yeah, it was a fantastic match. Might be one of my favorites. That being said, imagine that shot cinematically with all the story beats they hit, referencing various moments in their careers. I think that could have been spectacular.
Next up, I've got Rock versus Austin at WrestleMania 19. They'd already had 2 WrestleMania matches that were both pretty darn good. And I just feel like, if anything deserved the Boneyard treatment, it'd be this one.
I'm gonna say Hogan versus Warrior 2 in WCW. Imagine this through the Looking Glass match.
I love it.
You have that bit where Warrior's in the wall, and he uses the power of the Warrior to bring Hogan into his Warrior realm. They have a match there.
They're like, Hellwig, what do you want to do? Okay. And he just like writes down on a legal pad just all sorts of bizarre shit. And they try to do that.
It's pure madness. It's absolute madness.
Yeah.
It's absolute madness.
But then they give that legal pad to Hogan, and Hogan gets the red pen. And that's what they have to do. So they both get there and like Warrior's like, what is this?
Just start scratching everything out.
This doesn't work for me, brother.
Doesn't work for me, brother. Just bold all over it and all over the whole page. All right, what's your final answer here, Steve?
Well, now that you mentioned WCW, how about the finger poke of doom? I want that cinematically. You set this like huge epic arena up. You make it even bigger than it was. Yeah. I've got written down, though, I've got Asuka versus Charlotte. That could have been cool because that match to me was underwhelming. It was too short, not befitting how big that match should have been. So take it to the cinematic realm.
All right, I'm gonna say the WCW Chamber of Horrors match from Halloween Havoc 1991. It's one with the electric chair in it.
Oh wow, that's great.
Imagine if they had done that like real early 90s horror movie style.
When did Alcatraz stop being like an actual prison?
A real prison?
Yeah, because that's where you do it.
It's been a while.
Did they execute people at Alcatraz?
I mean, it was maximum security, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh wow, sure. It was all the way back in '63.
That recently it was still active, huh?
No, I'm shocked that it wasn't still active in like the 70s.
No,
1963. It closed after 30 years of operation.
Or if they realized it was kind of a pain in the ass to have to put prisoners on a boat and take them out to the prison.
Probably.
It seems like logistically it would just be a nightmare. Getting supplies out there and all that just seems like it would not be fun.
Absolutely, I know. I wonder if anybody actually ever escaped Alcatraz and like got away. Probably not.
No, that water's pretty cold out there.
It's freezing, man. It's cold.
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point there's like sharks too.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
I remember I saw an Unsolved Mysteries on it.
Ah,
but I
was there a horse in that episode? Because apparently there's horses in every episode. We've heard of the Birdman of Alcatraz. Was there a horseman of Alcatraz?
Not in that segment, but maybe in the larger episode there was. I don't know. Last week there was no. Actually, last week they did an update from the episode prior with the two random horses. So they for whatever reason they showed that shot again of those two horses. So horses
got the horses in there.
Technically appear in episode 5 of Unsolved Mysteries.
You gotta get those horses in there, man.
Everybody popped. Anyways, that's it for Matt Chat. If you want to be a part of Matt Chat, you can do that on the Patreon at patreon.com/Stephen Larson. Is $20. Not only do you get to be on Matt Chat, you also got the Friendo Care Package. So you get a comic book, some stickers,
8x10 postcard.
Yeah, you
our
get an
names on it.
8x10 of us, postcard probably. So yeah, it's good stuff. Anyways, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.